Hi, it's Tracy, and today I'm going to show you how to make these very wedding appropriate little barrettes with some ribbon flowers on them. I've got two different styles. I've got a soft edge flower and then I've got a rough edge flower. They're made almost exactly the same way. So I'm going to show you how to do that, and you can make your own for a wedding or a special event that you've got coming up. So you're just going to need 12 inches of ribbon. I'm using 3/4 inch ribbon, and this is Dupioni silk, which has a really pretty texture, and the edge gets nice and frayed if you're going to do the rough edge flower. I've also got a little barrette. I'm putting a 6mm crystal in the middle and a 8/0 seed bead for embellishment. You're also going to need a sewing needle. I'm using a little quilting needle because it has a smaller eye and will fit through my beads. And we're going to be using some Wildfire thread to do our sewing. You're going to need a couple feet. Now that we've discussed supplies, we're ready to get started. I've gone ahead and threaded my needle. And I'm going to start by forming the rosette with the ribbon. And I told you I was going to show you both ways how to do the smooth edge and the frayed edge. And really the only difference is which way we fold the ribbon. So we're going to fold the ribbon on itself in half, long ways. And if we want to do the smooth edge, we're going to run our stitch that we're getting ready to do along the cut end. And if we wanted to do the frayed edge flower, we would run our stitch along the folded end. So I'm going to do a folded edge, or a smooth edged flower, which means I'm going to sew along this edge down here. So I'm going to start at one end by just securing my thread, and you're just going to go around and through a few times. And then we're going to do what's called a running stitch along the whole length of the piece of ribbon as we're folding it in half. This is going to stitch the two parts together, but it's also going to help us gather it up when we're ready to make a little scrunched flower. A running stitch is just weaving in and out with your needle. It can be fairly long stitches, and it doesn't have to be exact because you're not going to see this part. And I'm doing my stitching just above the edge down here. Basically, you want to make sure it's not clipping off the very end. So you can weave through a couple stitches and then pull through. And you'll see if I pulled that a little tighter, it's going to gather. But we're going to wait and gather that at the end. We're going to go ahead and do all our stitching first. So you're just going to repeat this process for the full length of your ribbon. Alright, so I've finished doing my running stitch along my entire piece of ribbon. And now you get to magically scrunch it up. You're just going to keep pulling on your thread. What that's going to do is gather your ribbon. And it's going to start kind of curling in on itself to give you that flower feel. So you're going for something that looks kind of like this, kind of scrunchy and spirally. And before we attach it to the barrette, what we're going to do is start sewing it in on itself. So you're going to start just kind of stitching in and out along this bottom edge and curling around as you do so. So you're going to curl a little bit and stitch. And then curl a little more. And you're just trying to get through all of this fabric on the lower half of the flower, because what that's going to do is hold this together like that. So you're going to keep going until you've gotten this whole bit turned around and tacked at the bottom. Alright, so I've finished gathering my rosette together, and I've got this sweet little flower. I've still got my needle and extra thread attached, and my next step is I'm ready to embellish. So I've got my little 6mm crystal. I'm going to start with that. It's going to go in the center. So I'm going to bring it up through the back. And by the way, don't worry if your back is kind of ugly. It's not going to be seen. So as long as it's holding your rosette together, that's all that matters. So come up through the middle of your flower. You're going to go through your crystal. And then back down through the center of your rosette. Like that. It's looking really sweet. And then you can do whatever you like with the seed beads to embellish. You can see on this one, I did little lines of beads coming from the center. And on this one, it's a little more subtle. I've just got random ones here and there. So that part is up to you. You're just going to come up through your flower, place however many seed beads you want, and then go back down through. So I'm going to embellish this one a little bit, and then I'm going to show you how to attach it to your barrette. I've finished going around and adding a few little embellished seed beady bits around the center of the flower. So I'm ready to put this on a barrette. And you can look on this one, we've just done some stitching through the little hole that's on there. So I'm still working off the same piece of thread. And you're just going to take your needle down through the hole in the barrette. And just use your thumb to hold the flower in place. And you're going to travel around the edge of the rosette, catching the flower and then coming through the hole in the barrette. And basically you're going to keep repeating this back and forth as you travel left to right around this barrette until you feel like it's stable and is going to stay in place. So keep repeating that process till you've completely attached your flower. I've repeated the process, and now I feel like my flower's pretty well affixed to my barrette. And to finish it off, you can just come back into the edge of the flower here. And we're going to do what we did to start it. We're going to come through the same little spot a few times so that it creates a little knot. And then you can just bring it back up through the center and trim your extra. Now you've got a sweet little barrette. Little great for summer or for a summer wedding. Imagine how cute these would be on little flower girl or your bridesmaids.